From medieval wave survival games, multiplayer bonework styles physics games, and even Portal in VR, there are a ton of different games to be played in Roblox on the Quest 2, most of which are free and multiplayer. In this video, I'm going to show you 15 of some of the best games I've come across in Roblox VR. Fair warning, I did record all these on PC VR, so while they might look a little bit better, they still work on the Quest 2. I went and checked. Number 1 on this list is the multiplayer Bone Lab game, so stay tuned for that. Number 15. This game is basically Portal in VR. In this game, you have the sick-looking portal gun as one of your hands. You use it to pick up objects as well as shoot blue and orange portals. This is a puzzle game with a ton of different levels. Your goal is to make it to the next level by moving the cube around using your gravity gun, as well as the portals. This is one of my favorite games on this list, definitely worth checking out. The name of this Roblox game is Tunneler. Number 14 is the Gorilla Tag of Roblox VR. This is Jungalo Bungalows. It has the same arm movement like Gorilla Tag. You spawn in at your own little house where you can join servers and play one of two different game modes. Infection is like the classic Gorilla Tag game mode, and Tag is where only one person can be at a time. There are several different maps you can play either game mode on. If you like Gorilla Tag, this one's definitely worth checking out. Number 13 is a God Simulator. There are several of these on this list. This is probably the most popular game type for VR Roblox. In this one specifically, there are several different hand gestures that you can make. There are also different items you can interact with, like a giant rocket launcher or even a gun. There's a tiny city that you can hover over, as well as a treehouse that you can get into. The game can be played flat screen, but is a much better experience in VR. The name of the game is Realistic Hand RP. Number 12 is one of the better games to play cross-platform with a friend that doesn't have a VR. This is Crazy Stairs plus VR. In this game, you have flat screen players that are trying to make up a huge staircase. The giant VR player has the choice to either help them or knock them down. There are a ton of different spells that you can use to either destroy, create, or change the staircases. Number 11 is a weird game where you have long noodle arms and square hands. There's a world to explore where you can pick up other players and interact with some of the objects around you. Not gonna lie, there's not a whole lot that you can do in this one. It kinda sucks. Number 10 is another God Simulator game. While not the best of them, it's definitely the most classic. In this game, the flat screen players run around and try to work their way through obstacles and explore the world. While you, the VR player, are a giant floating head and hands, you can either help them through the obstacles or ruin their day. There are also some objects around the environment that you can interact with, one of which is ping pong. Number 9 is definitely one of the best on this list. This is Opposer VR Alpha. This is a first-person shooter in Roblox VR. The main game mode is free-for-all. There are several different weapons that you can use, and some even have scopes. There are a couple different maps that you can play on, from a city rooftop to a small farmhouse. You can play this game with both VR players and flat screen players in the same game, so you can play with friends that don't even have a VR. Number 8 is not really a game. This is VR Tutorial, and it shows you some settings for comfort and performance that you can change within the game. It also shows you how to switch from third person to first person. Definitely helpful if you're just getting into Roblox VR. Number 7 is another God Simulator. Like I said earlier, there's a ton of these out there. I don't really like them, but they seem to be pretty popular. That being said, there's definitely the most to do in this one. This one, your hands are actually huge and further away from you, kind of like the Mystic Hands mod in Blade and Sorcery. There are smaller flat screen players that you can knock over, but the servers are pretty laggy. There's a ton of different things you can interact with in the world, from a kitchen, lightsabers, and even basketball. The physics in this one aren't half bad. The name of this one is VR Islands. Number 6 brings the fun of Nerf guns into VR. This is Nerf Strike VR. In Nerf Strike, you first load into this menu where you can see your daily tasks, change your blaster, and even buy new cosmetics. When you hit play, you are immediately tossed into a game where it's a one-shot kill. There are turrets, grenades, and more. This isn't as good as number 9, Opposer VR, but it's still another option. And just like Opposer, you can play with friends that are on flat screen. Number 5 is a wave survival game. The graphics are pretty good, and you actually have VR hands in this one. This is Skywinds, and you're trying to survive against waves of enemy airships dropping bombs on you. There's a map with different levels, different ships that attack you, and even new guns to unlock. This one's okay, it gets a little boring after a while. The medieval wave survival in number 2 is definitely better. Number 4 is a roller coaster simulator. There are several different roller coasters to ride in this world, and you can even hop on with a friend. If you get motion sick easily, this is definitely the game for you. It's super soothing and relaxing. The roller coasters go through big drops, loop-de-loops, and even upside down. The name of this one is VR Kart Ride Roller Coasters. Number 3 is the last God Simulator on this list, and this one's a little different. While yes, you can still pick up and mess with players, the main goal of this game is to create, hence the name VR Sandbox. In this game, you have a bunch of tools that help you create things like paintbrushes where you can make terrain like bricks, grass, and ice. Usually these worlds are pretty griefed, but you can create some pretty cool stuff if you're creative. There's also a little Lego house to check out. Number 2 is one I know a lot of you have been looking for. This is the medieval wave survival game, Clashers VR. There are actually 2 game modes that you can play in this game. Wave survival, where the more waves you survive, the more areas you explore, and castle defense, where you're trying to stop the enemies from getting to and attacking your castle. There are 2 weapons to choose from, either a sword and shield, or my favorite, bow and arrow. The enemies have decent physics, getting knocked down when you hit them, and where you hit them actually matters, since they have armor. This would be my favorite game on this list if it weren't for the game in number 1. Before I show you the number 1, let me know down in the comments if there's any Roblox VR games that I missed and should have put on this list. I made this video shortly after Roblox came out on the Quest 2, so there's not a whole lot of options right now, but I'm sure there'll be more coming soon. If you own a Quest 2, hit that subscribe button and I promise you won't regret it. And finally, we have number 1. This game is definitely the best so far I've played in Roblox VR, and it's a miracle it works on the Quest 2. This is a physics-based game, kind of like Boneworks or Bone Lab, and the best part is it's multiplayer. Of course, there is a single-player story mode where you make your way through different levels, taking down enemies, and exploring the game's fairly accurate physics. There's also pretty solid climbing mechanics in this one. In the multiplayer mode, there's a city map you can explore, with a gun shop, and a PvP mode you can enable. There's only one downside to this game, and I know all the free Quest kids are going to hate me for this, but the game actually costs $5 in Robux. The name of this game is Edgeworks. I hope this video helped, and we'll see you in the next one.